During his first term, President Obama issued an executive order regarding alternative energy use that included the provision that all new federal buildings be zero net energy by 2030. The John Olver Transportation Center in Greenfield is a prime example of that type of building. And at the state level, Mass Development launched a pilot program for zero net energy private homes. I discussed the project with developer Carter Scott, homeowner Betsy Thiel, and Ronna Spector of Mass Development.
We were attempting to put together a case study in response to a task force report that both Carter and I had worked on, that the governor put out in 2009, asking, and it was a zero net energy task force looking for how to create buildings that would be zero net energy. And so we looked to Devens to come up with a site where we could have a case study for trial project.
And the result is 20 homes, and Carter's one of 2 developers working on the project. In terms of why you wanted to collaborate with the state or thought it was a good opportunity, what did you see there?
I saw it as a good case study to talk about, to build, and to show examples of zero net energy and how it can be done and how aesthetically beautiful it can be.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about specifics in a few moments, but Betsy, I want to bring you into the conversation too. You are living in one of the Metrics homes that was townhouses.
And a brand new homeowner.
About 6 weeks, you said, right?
6 weeks, yeah.
Well, what attracted you to the properties?
Well, it was twofold. First was driving through Devens and how beautifully Mass Development has gone forward in developing the property, and then seeing the condominiums, knowing that they were built as well as they have been built. It just made perfect sense. This was the place that I wanted to be, and I knew driving into Devens that this was my home. This was where I was meant to be.
Because what is happening there on the development front is large scale. It goes well beyond just the housing units, and the state has been working there for quite some time.
Right. Mass Development began working in Devens about 16 years ago, and we have 4.5 million square feet of commercial space. So we have about 116 existing homes that had been former Army units, but these are the first homes since Mass Development began at Devens that have been developed.
So let's look at the nuts and bolts of some of these homes and give people at home a sense of how they're different from the way a traditional home is constructed. What are some of the primary differences?
So first we start by super insulating the shell. With full basements, we put 2 inches of rigid underneath the slab, 3.5 inches of closed cell foam on the basement walls. The above grade walls get 12 inches, 2 double studded walls with a 5-inch gap, all filled with low density cellulose. And then the attics, 18 inches of cellulose. The windows are triple paned. So you have a super insulated shell, and then you add to that a very efficient air source heat pump heater that does both the heating and cooling. Add Energy Star appliances, a very efficient Navion instantaneous hot water heater. And then lastly, you add renewables. So that first super insulation piece saves about 60% of the home's energy and brings the home energy rating system, or HERS index, down to around 40. And then the renewable can either take it down to 0 energy, or if you have enough roof space, it can take it all the way so that you produce extra energy for your electric vehicle.
Which you can plug into the home. I mean, and that's sort of the ultimate goal. Not everyone is going to meet all of those benchmarks, right?
Correct.
But in terms of this type of building practice, what are we talking about square foot per square foot, conventional building cost versus this super insulated, highly efficient home?
We live in a very fortunate state that has a lot of incentives that helps happen. We've crunched the numbers and found for a marginal $3 per square foot, we can bring it from a stretch code, which is HERS 70, under 3,000 square feet, and bring it down to the 40. And then the solar can either pay for itself with the incentives, or you can lease it and get a discount on the power and get down to 0. So you can take a home from a stretch code HERS 70 down to 0 energy for $3 a square foot.
And when we say, when you use that term zero net energy, it's basically the concept is getting the home not to be self-sustaining in essence.
On average. So typically during the spring through fall, you'll create more energy on the roof. You'll send that into the grid. With net metering, you'll use those credits up during the winter.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're looking annually to
Yes,
make
so it's a net
that
energy. Yes.
difference back. Absolutely. But Carter did point out, Rhonda, that this is a prime place to do this, Massachusetts, I mean, because of the incentives that are offered here to homeowners who might be putting photovoltaics on the roof and whatnot. So do you think that that is, given that this is a pilot program, then sustainable in the long term and possibly to be replicated elsewhere?
The PV is the icing on the cake. The house being a super insulated, comfortable, healthy home that uses so much less electricity than any, or any type of fossil fuel than any other home is the primary goal. To be able to build these homes and have them be comfortable. People, that are living in homes that are built like this will have significantly lower utility costs in general. So even if they don't end up putting the PV on, it's still well worth the benefits.
Now, Betsy,
I was going to say,
I
I
see you
have
nodding.
found out in the short amount of time that I've been there, it is so airtight. So for the condos, they have been built so that you always have sun streaming into all windows or most of your windows. So the sunlight is filling up the house, the majority of the day. But they are so airtight, and I only really, when it's been colder, below 30 at night, the heat will turn on in the first thing in the morning, and it doesn't really factor in again until the afternoon. So once that initial blast of heat is there, it's there for all during the day. I have also been, Carter, when you were talking about the cellar, I've been so surprised because in all of my previous houses, the cellar is what I basically used as cold storage. And the cellar is really as warm as the upstairs.
No, I think that there could be some cause for concern among people who hear about the use of renewable technologies because of the failures of things like Solyndra and other renewable companies. So if someone's looking at this and hearing, I'm going to put solar panels on my home, is that really a smart move for me?
I would ask Carter that question.
Those are the manufacturers that are having trouble, but the installations have gone up dramatically in Massachusetts and around the country. There are good warranties on the panels, on the inverters. The price has come down dramatically, so now it's a good, not only are you doing well for the environment, but you're doing well for your pocketbook.
No, Rhonda, I know it's relatively early in the pilot program, but what information has the state received back, and do you have any indication about whether or not you can proceed and build these elsewhere?
Oh, these are absolutely, Carter's already built them elsewhere, and I think the Metric Construction will also be building them in, anywhere they're starting to build homes. So these are absolutely replicable. They are very reasonably priced, and they're the future. I think they're the future of construction in Massachusetts, but is in any other place in the country as well.
And I'm glad that you said Carter has built these elsewhere. We have in East Hampton, there's another community of these types of homes. What's the level of interest that you're seeing? Would you say it's on par with typical home sales? I mean, I know that this is a difficult economy.
Well, our business 2 years ago doubled. From last year to this year it doubled, and we're on track to double again next year. So we're seeing a lot of interest in this. There's 33 homes that we signed a contract for with Beacon Communities to build. We built 6 last year. We started 3 just a couple of months ago, and we're starting another 5. So that project's coming along very well.
In terms of re-educating the workforce, contractors and the like, to install these types of homes, what is going to need to happen, or anything?
I think that workshops in Mass Development's already given 2, and we'll give a 3rd. The Northeast Sustainable Energy Association has workshops in the spring at the NESE conference. So there is things to get up to speed on, but the workmen, it's not that hard. I mean, there are different things that we have to do and pay attention to certain things, but it's not that hard to learn.
So something obviously that you've pointed out can be replicated elsewhere. And I know that at the federal level, we're looking at a mandate from the Obama administration looking at net energy federal buildings by 2030, I think it is. And we have the Olver Center here, Regional Transportation Center in Greenfield. So the area does have a number of these projects sort of already out there for us to look at and test. California has also been involved. what other things need to happen in the social consciousness, do you think, or what other discussions need to be going on a more broad scale basis to see this happening in other communities?
I was just going to say, don't you think all of us as homeowners or prospective homeowners, we understand that this is the wave of the future. If we want to be able to even afford to take advantage of owning a property, it has to be energy efficient.
Great. Well, I appreciate the three of you coming in to help us get the word out. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.